Today we're going to talk about perfect passive participles in Latin, but before we do that, let's refresh our memory as to what a participle is. So a participle is a form of the verb, which means it comes from a verb but no longer functions like a verb in the sentence. In fact, participles are verbal adjectives, so they will work like an adjective within the sentence. And perfect participles are almost always passive. The only aberration from this rule is if it comes from a deponent verb, which we do not know yet, so we won't worry about that right now. When we form a perfect participle, you go to that fourth principal part of the verb. So here, amo, amare, amavi, amatus, we're going to go to amatus. And as we said, it's an adjective, so it's going to work like a first and second declension adjective, with amatus as the masculine, amata as the feminine, and amatum as the neuter stem. So when we decline that, it'll look just like your first and second declension adjective. So amatus, the masculine, will use second declension masculine endings, things you're very familiar with. Amata, the feminine, will use first declension endings, also very familiar. And amatum, the neuter, will use second declension neuter endings. So take a second to familiarize yourself with these endings and how the perfect participle is formed, and then we'll talk about translating it. So just as a refresher, a participle is an adjective, so perfect passive participles must agree with the noun they modify in three ways: case, number, and gender, just like all adjectives. When we translate it, it is translated as having been verbed, or simply verbed. So amatus, amata, amatum means having been loved, or more simply, just loved. So let's see how this works in a sentence. Here we have two examples. The first one, puer a magistro bono doctus erat eruditissimus. So here our participle is doctus. It is nominative singular masculine, so it's referring back to puer, the subject of our sentence, which is also nominative singular and masculine. So when we translate this, the boy, having been taught, there's our doctus, by a good teacher, was most wise. So here, doctus, having been taught, is describing the boy. Notice also, a lot of the time when we have a perfect passive participle, we'll have an ablative of personal agent, a magistro bono, like we have here, or in other cases, an ablative of means, which we do not have here. And now, in the second sentence, Kaiser in servitutum helvetios victos. Here you'll see that our participle is victos. It's accusative, plural, masculine, so it goes back to helvetios. And here we're going to see it translated the second way, which makes more sense. Caesar led the defeated Helvetians into slavery. So here, defeated, or the Helvetians having been defeated, if you want to think of it in other words, modifies helvetios, which is also in the accusative plural and is masculine, just like victos.